Over the weekend, in a typically bellicose statement, the always bellicose, infamously mustachioed National Security Advisor John Bolton said that the United States is deploying the USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group and a bomber task force to the U.S. Central Command region to send a clear and unmistakable message to the Iranian regime. Now, here's the thing. According to the Associated Press, this was not actually some big policy change. The AP reported, quote, the order to the carrier group would get the Abraham Lincoln to the Middle East about 2 weeks earlier than initially planned, following exercises in the Mediterranean region. In other words, it was already headed there. But Bolton, along with Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and others in the administration, has been making lots of noise about the possible use of American military force just about wherever they can manage to get away with it. They've been saber-rattling over Venezuela and now Iran and Lord knows where else. In a new profile of Bolton in the New Yorker, Dexter Filkins writes, during the past 2 decades, Bolton has established himself as the Republican Party's most militant foreign policy thinker, an advocate of aggressive force who ridicules anyone who disagrees. So, is the Trump administration going to follow Bolton into a disaster? Here with me now is New Yorker's Dexter Filkins, the writer of John Bolton on the Warpath. It was a great piece. Thank you for coming. What do you make of what has happened in the Iran theater in the last day or two?
Well, I think the important thing to say is we don't know because we haven't seen the evidence. You know, all we have are statements from the White House, basically. So what the White House says is that the Iranians, they've seen indications that the Iranians are engaged in escalatory behavior. They've indicated that there are preparations possibly to attack Americans or American interests in the region. But honestly, we don't know because we don't know what they have. And so they've deployed, you know, they're clearly trying to send a message to the Iranian regime. I
have to say, the message sending, I don't want to play Mike Pompeo basically making that point over the weekend and then get a reaction to it. Take a listen.
We have continued to see activity that leads us to believe that there's escalation that may be taking place. And so we're taking all the appropriate actions, both from a security perspective and well as our ability to make sure that the president has a wide range of options in the event that something should actually take place.
So that was today. You're being very diplomatic and you're a straight reporter, and that's fine. I'm just going to say, you'll forgive me if I'm slightly jaundiced and skeptical that they are being honest about what the actual intelligence says, given the pre-existing desire to confront Iran and get out of the deal that we have been from day one.
Well, you're right about that. I mean, they're very upfront about this. They've said our goal is not regime change. We've tried that; it doesn't work so well. But we are trying to collapse the Iranian economy. And if we do that, and the Iranian people want to take action against their government, that's fine with us. And so I think this is, if you look in the larger context, this is the White House strategy against Iran is very aggressive.
It's also, the other thing I can't help but notice the timing here, right? And this is part of what I find worrisome. You've got 2 spheres in which Bolton has been very active and Pompeo and very bellicose, Iran and Venezuela. And it almost seems like they kind of alternate between the two. So a few days ago, it was the U.S. clearly coordinating with the opposition leader to kind of have this call to arms, to have the military shift its loyalties, and basically nothing happened.
Nothing happened. I think Pompeo said something interesting about Iran, which is we've been working on this for a while. And I don't know what it's a very curious statement. I don't know what it means, but it suggests that this is something they've been thinking about. And so that makes me wonder, okay, well, then what was it that happened yesterday, or did it happen a month ago?
You're saying with Iran?
Yeah, about Iran. And so if we take them at their word, they've been kind of working on this for a while.
Right, but my point is that it seems to me like the timing of that announcement is a little bit like right after the Venezuela. There was all
collapse.
Exactly, because there was all this, you know, they very clearly have applied maximal pressure to Venezuela. They have Shanahan is studying the acting head of DOD.
Yeah, we had a big meeting at the Pentagon.
Running Boeing, who is studying options, possible military options. And that's, you know, they keep talking very loosely about the possibility of American troops there.
Well, all options are on the table.
Right.
That he made that very clear. But the Venezuela, clearly it was a misfire. Clearly, it was a misjudgment. They thought the army was going to rise up. Nothing happened. So that's off the screen now.
Right, exactly. Now we're talking about Iran. What do you think? How much sway does Bolton have? I mean, one of the things that happens in this administration often is the things the president's least engaged with gives the most amount of space for determined and knowledgeable staffers or principals to pursue.
Definitely.
And this seems like the perfect example of that.
It does. I think the question you just asked is the most important one, and I think there is, it seems to me, a fundamental divide in the White House. You have Bolton, whose reputation, as you say, he's the most aggressive hawk in the Republican Party. He's been that way for years. I'm not sure Trump really is bought into that. I don't get the impression Trump wants a war. He doesn't want to be blamed for American deaths. He certainly doesn't want to spend the money. And so where does that leave them? Either you can see them not, their minds not meeting on any number of policy options, but the question is, does Trump just say, you guys deal with it?
This is your portfolio.
Yeah.
Or he's also known, and this comes through in your piece, as sort of master bureaucratic infighter. Does he create the conditions that corners the president into taking some sort of action that he wants already?
Again, that's really good question. What was interesting about the statement that Bolton put out last night was it came out from Bolton. And not the president,
I
not
noted
the White
that
House.
as well, exactly.
And the National Security Advisor historically has been, his office is right down the hall from the president. He doesn't speak in public. He doesn't go down to Miami and give speeches about Venezuela. Right. He doesn't pound the table. He's not a political guy. And Bolton has proved to be very much otherwise.
All right, Dexter Filkins, a piece in the New Yorker this week on John Bolton, or last week, I think. Great piece. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.